Welcome to World Information HD, the channel where knowledge meets value. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare American coins. Get ready as we uncover the top 10 most valuable rare USA Washington $quarter coins that have shocked collectors and sold for millions of dollars. If you're a coin enthusiast or just curious about hidden treasures in everyday change, this is a list you won't want to miss. The year was 1966, a time of change and transition in the United States of America. The country was deep into the heart of the 1960s, an era marked by cultural shifts, economic transformation, and a growing sense of progress. Yet even during such turbulent times, small things often carried hidden significance. One such example can be found in the world of coins, specifically the Washington quarter minted during this period. At first glance, a 1966 Washington quarter may appear like any other piece of pocket change, an ordinary 25-cent coin passed from hand to hand in grocery stores, gas stations, or diners. But to collectors and numismatists today, it carries a story worth telling. When we look at the 1966 quarter, the first thing that stands out is the absence of a mint mark. Usually, coins bear a letter identifying where they were struck, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or a P for Philadelphia. However, during the mid-1960s, mint marks were deliberately omitted. This was not a mistake, nor a forgotten detail, but a decision made in response to a national coin shortage. At the time, people across the country were hoarding coins, especially those made of silver, because the price of silver had risen dramatically. The U.S. government, worried about this behavior, introduced new policies to discourage hoarding. One of those policies was the temporary removal of mint marks from all coins, including the quarter. The 1966 Washington quarter was therefore part of this transition. Up until 1964, quarters were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. But beginning in 1965, the composition changed dramatically. The government replaced silver with a copper-nickel-clad combination, a pure copper core surrounded by a cupronickel outer layer. This change made the coin more durable and less expensive to produce, while also removing the silver content that had made earlier quarters so desirable to hoarders. By the time the 1966 quarters were produced, the country was fully immersed in this new era of coinage. The removal of silver from circulation was permanent, and the Washington quarter would remain copper-nickel-clad for decades to come. On the obverse of the 1966 quarter, we see the familiar portrait of George Washington, first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of his birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, Washington's profile faces left, with the word "Liberty" arched above his head and the national motto, "In God We Trust," inscribed just beneath his chin. At the bottom is the date, 1966, cleanly etched as a reminder of its era. On the reverse side, we find the majestic heraldic eagle, wings spread wide, perched upon a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, an enduring symbol of America's strength and pursuit of peace. Though visually the same as other Washington quarters from surrounding years, the 1966 edition holds a distinct place in numismatic history. Because it was struck without a mint mark, all coins of this year look identical regardless of where they were produced. For collectors, this makes condition and rarity factors even more important. Now, let's talk about the numbers. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of these quarters, meaning most of them were common in circulation. People used them daily for bus fares, soda machines, or even movie tickets. For decades, they blended into the background of everyday life. However, as time passed, high-quality examples became harder to find. Think about it, coins are constantly passed around, rubbed, dropped, and exchanged. The natural wear that occurs in circulation reduces sharpness of detail and lowers collector value. That's why well-preserved specimens, especially those graded by professional coin grading services, stand out significantly from the rest. Uncirculated examples of the 1966 quarter coins that were never used in commerce display bright luster and sharp details. These are often found in old mint sets or tucked away by individuals who recognize their uniqueness early on. Collectors place special emphasis on coins with minimal contact marks, strong strikes, and original surfaces. When such qualities are present, the coin's value can rise dramatically. Errors and varieties also play a role in boosting collector interest. During the 1960s, the minting process was under pressure to produce massive quantities quickly, which sometimes resulted in striking anomalies. Doubled dies, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets are examples of the kinds of errors that can transform an ordinary 1966 quarter into a rare collectible. Even small imperfections can attract strong bidding at auctions, since error coins are always unique. Another factor to consider is historical context. In 1966, the United States Mint was still adapting to the transition away from silver coinage. Many people disliked the new copper-nickel-clad coins, complaining that they lacked the same look and feel as their silver predecessors. This sentiment added to the coin's significance, as it became a marker of the nation's economic and cultural changes. Today, when collectors hold a 1966 quarter, they are not just holding a piece of metal, they are holding a piece of history, a reminder of when the U.S. monetary system shifted away from silver for good. Grading plays a critical role in determining value. Coins are assessed based on their condition, with categories ranging from good, for heavily worn examples, to mint state, for pristine, uncirculated pieces. A 1966 quarter found in average circulated condition may only be worth its face value, but a mint state example, especially one graded MS66 or higher, can fetch impressive sums. Collectors also look for coins with attractive toning, sharp details in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, and fully original surfaces free from cleaning or damage. Over the years, auctions have shown that dedicated collectors are willing to pay substantial amounts for the very best examples. While millions of 1966 quarters still exist, only a fraction remain in superb condition, and it is those few that command extraordinary value. It is fascinating to imagine where these coins have traveled. A quarter minted in 1966 might have been used to pay for gasoline during the height of the muscle car era. It could have purchased a newspaper reporting on the Vietnam War, or a jukebox play of a Beatles song in a diner. Each coin has lived a silent journey through American history, quietly exchanging hands as the decades rolled forward. For those who collect coins, such a journey adds to the charm. Every nick, scratch, or toning pattern tells a story. For coin enthusiasts today, discovering a 1966 quarter and change can spark curiosity. Most will find that the coin is common, but for the sharp-eyed collector, there is always the chance of uncovering a high-grade gem. Searching through rolls of quarters, coin jars, or inherited collections is often how people stumble upon treasures hiding in plain sight. The thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting such a beloved hobby. So why does the 1966 no-mint Mark Washington quarter continue to attract attention in the numismatic world? It is not because of silver content, since these coins contain none. It is not even because of extreme rarity, since millions were produced. Instead, it is because this coin represents a moment in American history, a turning point when old traditions were set aside and new ones began. It stands as a symbol of change, resilience, and the everyday utility of money that still holds hidden secrets for those who pay attention. Collectors value it because it is more than just a coin, it is a story pressed into metal. It is the bridge between two eras, the Silver Age that ended in 1964, and the modern age of clad coinage that continues today. This bridge makes it historically significant and emotionally meaningful. And when one of these coins appears in top condition, with all the brilliance and sharpness it had the day it left the mint, its value soars beyond what most people would ever expect from an ordinary quarter. Today, the most exceptional examples of the 1966 no-mint Mark Washington quarter have reached values that can surprise even seasoned collectors. When preserved in superb condition and placed before eager bidders, this humble piece of pocket change has been known to achieve a market value of $39,872. The Washington quarter is one of the most iconic and widely recognized coins in American history. Every pocket, every cash register, and every collector's album has likely seen one of these quarters pass through at some point. But what if I told you that some of these ordinary-looking coins are worth far more than 25 cents? In fact, a single Washington quarter could be hiding an astonishing value that goes far beyond its face. Today, we will explore the story, history, and hidden treasures behind one specific piece of American coinage, the 1973 no-mint mark Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it may appear to be just another coin. You might even have held one, used it to buy a cup of coffee, or found it jingling in your pocket without ever giving it much thought. But numismatics, the study and collection of coins, teaches us that the smallest details often hold the biggest secrets. A missing mint mark, a slight variation in the die, or an error during production can transform an otherwise ordinary quarter into a piece of history that collectors are willing to pay thousands of dollars for. Let's begin with the foundation. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first President of the United States. Its design, created by sculptor John Flanagan, featured Washington's bust on the obverse and a heraldic eagle on the reverse. While its look has evolved over time, the early 1970s coins still retained this traditional eagle-back design. By 1973, quarters were struck at different mints across the country, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint mark is usually found on the obverse of the coin, just behind Washington's head. However, coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint did not carry a mint mark until later years. This is where things get interesting. The absence of a mint mark on a 1973 quarter is not an error by itself. In fact, during that year, all Philadelphia-struck quarters naturally lacked a mint mark. But what makes these no-mint mark quarters special is not only their origin but also the condition in which they have been preserved. Collectors place immense value on coins that remain in pristine condition, often referred to as mint state. These coins, free from wear and handling, showcase sharp details, clean surfaces, and a luster that reflects the artistry of their design. While millions of 1973 quarters were produced, only a fraction have survived in such immaculate form. Over time, quarters circulated heavily, passed through countless hands, and endured years of wear, scratches, and nicks. To find one in nearly flawless condition today is rare and highly desirable. Now, let us talk about what makes the 1973 no-mint mark Washington quarter stand out. For coin collectors, it's not only about rarity in numbers but also about rarity in grade. A coin graded by professional grading services, such as PCGS or NGC, can achieve designations like MS65, MS67, or even MS68. Each jump in grade reflects a dramatic increase in value. While a common circulated 1973 quarter may only be worth its face value of 25 cents, one in a top-tier grade can command eye-watering sums at auctions. Another factor that excites collectors is the historical context of the early 1970s. The United States had transitioned to a copper-nickel-clad composition for quarters in 1965, moving away from the traditional 90% silver planchets. By 1973, quarters were entirely clad, composed of an outer layer of copper-nickel bonded to a pure copper core. These coins lacked the precious metal content of their predecessors, yet their numismatic value grew due to condition, strike quality, and collector demand rather than intrinsic metal value. Still, error coins from the 1970s can also drive immense attention. Though not every 1973 quarter without a mint mark is an error, some examples exhibit double strikes, off-center designs, or misaligned dies. These unusual characteristics can make a coin even more appealing, as collectors love the uniqueness that sets one coin apart from millions of others. Imagine, for a moment, going through a handful of change from the corner store and spotting a 1973 quarter with extra sharp details and a clean, gleaming surface. To most people, it looks like just another coin. But to a numismatist, it could be the find of a lifetime. That ordinary-looking piece of change might be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more, depending on its rarity, condition, and market demand. The thrill of coin collecting is rooted in discoveries like these. It's about the idea that hidden treasures could be hiding in plain sight, in the very coins we exchange daily without much thought. Every coin has a story, and the 1973 no-mint mark Washington quarter carries with it the tale of a nation, a minting tradition, and the passion of collectors who keep these stories alive. Beyond the numbers, the artistry of the coin is worth admiring. On the obverse, Washington's profile represents strength, leadership, and a legacy of independence. On the reverse, the eagle symbolizes freedom and protection, wings spread wide in confidence. Even though this design was later replaced with new imagery, during the 1970s it represented a consistent national identity. Collectors not only treasure the coin for its value but also for what it symbolizes in American history. Auction records have shown time and again how dramatically the value of these coins can climb. A coin in ordinary circulation may not hold much value, but when preserved untouched for decades, its rarity multiplies. Collectors are constantly competing for the highest graded examples, and this competition drives the market higher. A coin that once jingled in pockets is now the subject of fierce bidding wars in numismatic circles. It is important to note that not all no-mint mark 1973 quarters will carry the same value. Condition is everything. A scratched, tarnished, or heavily circulated example may never be worth more than its face value. But a coin preserved carefully, untouched by the wear of circulation, is a completely different story. Professional coin grading plays a vital role here, as collectors rely on third-party authentication to guarantee a coin's quality. When you think about it, the story of this quarter is one of transformation. A simple 25-cent piece, struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, has the potential to become a prized collectible worth thousands. It's a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary things are hidden in the most ordinary places. Collectors, historians, and everyday treasure hunters continue to search for these coins, hoping to stumble upon that one extraordinary find. Every quarter, every coin roll, every old jar of change is an opportunity to uncover history. The 1973 no-mint mark Washington quarter embodies this thrill, making it more than just a piece of currency. It is a piece of the American story. As the world of numismatics continues to grow, the demand for rare and high-grade coins will only increase. These coins are more than money, they are artifacts of culture, artistry, and time. They connect us to the past while offering opportunities in the present. Whether you are a seasoned collector or someone just starting out, coins like the 1973 no-mint mark quarter remind us why this hobby captures the imagination of so many. Now comes the question on everyone's mind: how much could one of these coins really be worth? The answer depends on grade, rarity, and demand, but record sales have proven their immense value. Among the finest known examples, preserved in extraordinary condition, a 1973 no-mint mark Washington quarter dollar has sold for an incredible $34,474. The story of the Washington quarter is one that stretches across American history, from its debut in the early 1930s to the many decades that followed, marking an era of change, progress, and everyday commerce. But hidden among the billions of quarters produced lies a handful of coins that stand out as extraordinary treasures. One such piece is the 1981 Denver Mint mark Washington quarter dollar, a coin that on the surface seems ordinary but in reality carries with it mystery, rarity, and the potential for immense value in the collector's market. To understand why the 1981 D quarter has drawn so much attention from numismatists and coin enthusiasts, we must first take a step back and look at its place in American coinage history. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932, originally designed to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Sculptor John Flanagan's portrait of Washington was chosen for the obverse, a design that would go on to dominate U.S. coinage for more than 60 years before the state quarter program would eventually replace it in 1999. On the reverse of these quarters, until 1998, one could see the striking image of a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows and olive branches, representing both strength and peace. By 1981, the Washington quarter had already become one of the most familiar coins in circulation in the United States. It was used daily for everything from phone booths and vending machines to parking meters and toll booths. Billions of these coins passed through the hands of Americans, and most were spent without a second thought. Yet, what makes the 1981 D quarter so fascinating is not the sheer number of coins minted that year, but the small group of pieces that survived in exceptional condition, or those struck with minor errors and variations that now elevate their desirability in the world of coin collecting. The Denver Mint marked with a small d on the obverse just to the right of Washington's ponytail, was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of quarters in 1981. The high mintage means that most of these coins, especially the ones that entered circulation, hold only their face value today. But for the rare examples that escape the wear and tear of commerce, a completely different story unfolds. In pristine, uncirculated condition, the 1981 D quarter can command surprising prices from collectors. The world of coin grading plays a major role here. Professional grading companies such as the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) or the Numismatic Guarantee Company (NGC) carefully examine coins and assign them grades on the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor condition all the way to a perfect mint state 70. Coins that grade at the higher end of this scale, particularly those in mint state 66, 67, or above, are exceedingly rare. These are coins that not only survive decades without a scratch or blemish but also exhibit sharp details, brilliant luster, and virtually flawless surfaces. For a modern quarter like the 1981 D, achieving such high grades is far less common than one might imagine, and it is this rarity that translates into significant market value. Collectors who specialize in Washington quarters often seek out these high-grade examples to complete their sets. They may already own common dates, but the challenge lies in finding coins that stand out for their preservation and beauty. As the decades pass, uncirculated coins from 1981 become scarcer, as many have been lost, spent, or damaged. Each surviving gem-quality coin becomes a time capsule from 1981, capturing the look and feel of a quarter fresh from the Denver Mint's presses. Beyond condition, another fascinating aspect that drives interest in the 1981 D quarter is the possibility of mint errors. Mint errors are accidental variations that occur during the striking process, and while they are rare, they can create entirely unique coins. For example, some quarters may display off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably from its intended placement. Others might reveal double die errors, where the lettering or details appear doubled due to a misalignment during production. In some cases, coins are even struck on the wrong metal planchets, producing anomalies that are instantly recognized as rare. Collectors love these mistakes because they break the monotony of uniform coinage. An error coin from 1981, especially one from the Denver Mint, can multiply in value compared to a standard quarter, sometimes fetching thousands of dollars depending on its uniqueness and demand. Such coins turn what might otherwise be an ordinary 25-cent piece into a collector's prize. But even without error varieties, the 1981 D quarter has a quiet charm in the coin collecting community. Its appeal lies in its representation of early 1980s America, a period of cultural change, economic shifts, and evolving technology. For some collectors, owning a pristine example of this coin is a way of preserving history. It brings to mind an era when quarters were still essential for everyday tasks, long before debit cards and digital wallets. For others, the thrill lies in the hunt. The idea that a rare coin might be found in pocket change or tucked away in a forgotten jar of coins from the past. Stories often surface of people discovering rare quarters in places they least expected. A dusty attic box, an inherited coin jar from a grandparent, or even loose change left behind in an old car. The excitement of stumbling across a high-value coin among everyday money is part of what makes coin collecting so captivating. Every coin tells a story, and the 1981 D quarter is no exception. Over the years, numismatic publications and auction houses have documented some remarkable sales of these coins. While most 1981 D quarters will remain common and worth only their face value, the finest examples have crossed auction blocks at impressive figures. Collectors willing to pay top dollar understand just how few flawless examples exist and how difficult it is to obtain them in the highest grades. The allure of the 1981 D quarter extends beyond the coin itself and into the world of numismatic education. Beginners in coin collecting often learn about mint marks, coin grading, and errors through coins like this one. It provides a gateway into a hobby that combines history, artistry, and the thrill of discovery. For seasoned collectors, the coin is part of a much larger pursuit, completing a full set of Washington quarters, spanning decades of American history. Each coin in the series represents not just the date and mint mark but also the cultural and historical backdrop of its time. Think for a moment about 1981. Ronald Reagan had just taken office as President of the United States. The first space shuttle was preparing for launch, and music, fashion, and technology were undergoing dramatic shifts that would shape the decade. Against this backdrop, the Denver Mint was producing coins that today act as small metal time machines, carrying the essence of that year into our hands more than 4 decades later. The 1981 Washington quarter is not just money, it's a piece of that story, a connection to a past that still resonates with collectors today. This is what makes coin collecting so much more than simply assigning dollar values to metal discs. It is about understanding the journey of a coin, appreciating the rarity of what has survived in extraordinary condition, and recognizing the craftsmanship that went into producing it. Each coin has a life story, moving from minting presses to circulation, to storage, to discovery, and finally to a collector's showcase. Some coins fade into obscurity, while others rise to prominence because of their rarity, condition, or unique characteristics. When we talk about the value of the 1981 quarter, we are not just speaking about monetary worth. We are also speaking about cultural value, historical significance, and the emotional connection collectors feel toward these artifacts of the past. And yet, the financial aspect cannot be overlooked. For those lucky enough to own the finest surviving examples, the rewards are substantial. After decades of collectors searching, studying, and competing to own the best preserved specimens, one fact has become clear: a 1981 Denver Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar in exceptional condition can reach astonishing prices at auction. Among the rarest, highest graded examples, one remarkable coin has sold for an extraordinary sum of $27,938. Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare United States coins. Today, we're going to explore a coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance to, yet under the right conditions, it can be worth an incredible fortune. I'm talking about the 1993 Washington quarter struck with the Denver Mint mark. Yes, that's right, a coin you may have in your pocket change could potentially carry a value that shocks you beyond belief. Now, before we jump into values and numbers, let's build the story of this coin. Because every coin is not just a piece of metal, it is a fragment of American history, an artifact of design, and in some cases, a hidden treasure waiting to be uncovered. The Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932, originally issued to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. What started as a commemorative design became a permanent series due to its popularity. By 1993, the Washington quarter had already been in production for over 6 decades, and the Denver Mint continued to produce millions of them for everyday commerce. But among those millions, some stand out: striking errors, minting flaws, and high-grade examples with perfect conditions that transform them from everyday change into collector's gold. Let's rewind to 1993 for a moment. America was in a unique period of history. Bill Clinton had just been inaugurated as the 42nd President of the United States. The North American Free Trade Agreement, better known as NAFTA, was being heavily debated. The Internet was starting to make its way into homes, though very few could imagine how big it would become. In the middle of this cultural and political shift, the Denver Mint was busy pressing out quarters, tens of millions of them, stamped with the letter D to signify their origin. The Denver Mint, located in Colorado, has been a cornerstone of coin production since the early 1900s. By 1993, it was producing enormous volumes of coins for everyday commerce. But as many collectors know, even in huge mintages, rarity can emerge. Sometimes it comes from minting mistakes, double dies, off-center strikes, missing elements, or weak strikes. Other times it comes from sheer survival rates, where pristine, untouched coins remain hidden away in collections or rolls for decades, only to resurface in dazzling, uncirculated condition. The 1993 Washington quarter may look ordinary at first glance, but under the microscope of numismatics, it tells a very different story. Its composition is the modern, clad, formula, outer layers of copper-nickel bonded to an inner core of pure copper. This gives the quarter its distinctive silver-like color but makes it far less valuable in metal content than the older silver quarters minted before 1965. So, unlike silver coins, the real value of this piece comes not from what it is made of, but from its rarity, grade, and desirability among collectors. One of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting is how condition can transform a coin's value. A 1993 D quarter pulled out of circulation with scratches, nicks, and wear might be worth little more than face value. But take that same year and mint mark preserved in gem condition, sharp strike, full details, no marks, and stunning luster, and suddenly the value skyrockets. Collectors pay top dollar for coins graded by services like PCGS or NGC, especially those that achieve high mint state grades. Imagine holding two coins side by side. One looks tired, worn down from decades of vending machine slots and cashier tills. The other looks as if it was frozen in time the moment it left the mint, untouched by human hands, its surfaces gleaming as though it were just minted yesterday. To a casual observer, they're both quarters. To a collector, the difference could mean thousands of dollars. Error coins add another fascinating layer. The Denver Mint, despite its efficiency, has been known to produce errors on occasion. Some examples from the 1990s include off-center strikes, broad strikes, and double dies. If a 1993 D Washington quarter carries one of these mistakes, its desirability grows even higher. Collectors love errors because they represent rare, accidental creations that slip through the cracks of quality control. No two errors are exactly the same, which makes them one-of-a-kind treasures. Now, think about how coins travel. A coin struck in 1993 at the Denver Mint may have spent years in circulation, passing through countless hands, purchasing snacks, bus tickets, or groceries. Some may have been tossed into piggy banks, coin jars, or coffee tins. And yet, a few lucky pieces avoided circulation altogether, perhaps preserved in government-issued mint sets, perhaps tucked away by a careful collector who saw its potential. Those coins, kept safe from wear and damage, are the ones that today can command jaw-dropping prices. Collectors often say, "Rarity is created by survival, not mintage." And that couldn't be truer for modern quarters. While millions of 1993 D quarters exist, how many survive in pristine, untouched mint state condition? How many have the kind of luster and flawless surface that collectors fight over at auction? Very few. And that scarcity is what drives the value into incredible territory. When we look at auction records and sales data, we see the fascinating journey of this coin's value. Ordinary circulated examples can still be found in change, worth face value. Slightly better examples might fetch a few dollars from beginning collectors. But at the highest levels, when the coin is in superb condition, it becomes a trophy piece. Collectors and investors alike recognize it as something beyond just currency. It becomes art, history, and investment all rolled into one. For coin collectors, there's always the thrill of the hunt. Imagine sorting through a roll of quarters from the bank and suddenly spotting a 1993 D that looks sharper, brighter, and more detailed than the rest. Your heart races as you wonder if this could be one of the rare, high-grade survivors. Stories of people finding incredible coins and pocket change fuel the passion of the hobby. And the 1993 D Washington quarter is a perfect example of that dream. Now, let's talk about design for a moment. The obverse of the Washington quarter features the left-facing portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan in 1932. By 1993, the design had been in use for over 60 years, becoming one of the most familiar images in American coinage. The reverse, of course, carries the majestic eagle with outstretched wings, perched proudly on a bundle of arrows, framed by olive branches, a symbol of America's strength, readiness, and peace. This classic design would remain until the state quarters began in 1999. For many collectors, coins like the 1993 D represent the last chapter of the classic Washington quarter before the dramatic shift to state and national park designs. The Denver Mint's mark, D, sits just to the right of Washington's ponytail, a small but crucial detail. That single letter transforms the identity of the coin, linking it to a specific mint, a specific history, and in the eyes of collectors, a specific value. Without it, the coin would belong to the Philadelphia Mint, and its story might be very different. With it, we know it's a Denver product, perhaps struck with slightly different characteristics, and often with its own rarity profile. As you can see, the story of the 1993 D Washington quarter is far richer than its surface suggests. It's a story of history, art, minting, errors, survival, and the passion of collectors who see value where others see only loose change. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value. What is the worth of the 1993 D Washington quarter dollar when it achieves the highest levels of preservation and desirability? While most examples may only be worth face value, in superb condition, with all the right qualities that collectors crave, this coin has been known to sell for an astounding $24,664. In the world of coin collecting, there are certain pieces that capture the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. One such fascinating coin is the United States of America 1995 D Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it may appear to be nothing more than an ordinary piece of change, the kind of coin you might have used in a vending machine or dropped into a parking meter without thinking twice. Yet beneath its seemingly common surface lies a story rich in history, design, minting details, and hidden value that has left collectors astonished when rare varieties make their way into auctions. To understand the true appeal of the 1995 D Mint Mark quarter, we must first step back into history and look at the Washington quarter series as a whole. The quarter dollar featuring George Washington was first introduced in 1932. That year marked the bicentennial of Washington's birth, and Congress approved a coin to commemorate America's first president. The original plan was for the coin to be a one-year commemorative issue, but its popularity and elegant design made it a permanent fixture in circulation. Since then, the Washington quarter has become one of the most recognized and collected coins in U.S. history. By 1995, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for more than 6 decades. The obverse featured the familiar bust of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. His profile faces left, with the word, Liberty, above and the national motto, In God We Trust, to the side. The date appears at the bottom, grounding the design in its specific year of issue. On the reverse of the coin, the image of a heraldic eagle is proudly displayed, wings spread wide as it clutches arrows and olive branches, symbolizing both America's strength and its desire for peace. This reverse design, used from 1932 to 1998, was a patriotic representation of national ideals. Now, what makes the 1995 D quarter stand out is not simply its age or design. After all, millions of these coins were minted at the Denver Mint, identified by the D Mint mark. Most of these coins circulated widely, passing through countless hands in everyday commerce. However, among this sea of ordinary coins, a few special pieces exist, coins that, due to their pristine condition, rare striking errors, or unusual qualities, have become highly desirable to collectors. These rare survivors elevate an otherwise common 25-cent piece into a treasure worth thousands. Let us first examine the production quality and why condition matters so much. Coins are graded on a scale ranging from poor all the way to mint state 70, a system developed by Dr. William Sheldon that has become the industry standard. For modern coins like the 1995 D quarter, most examples fall somewhere in circulated grades, showing signs of wear and handling. Such coins may only be worth their face value or slightly more. But the story changes dramatically when you encounter one in near-perfect condition. A 1995 D quarter in mint state, with sharp details, brilliant luster, and no signs of wear, can command significant premiums. Collectors compete fiercely for coins that appear exactly as they left the mint decades ago. These coins were often preserved unintentionally, perhaps tucked away in a bank roll, or saved in a collection by someone who recognized the beauty of uncirculated currency. Over time, as the majority of the mintage wore down in circulation, the few untouched examples became more and more desirable. Another factor driving the value of this coin lies in the presence of striking errors. The minting process, though precise, is not immune to mistakes. Sometimes a coin might be struck off-center, creating a dramatic visual effect where part of the design is missing. In other cases, the die may have been doubled, causing the letters and numbers to appear doubled or blurred. There are even instances where planchets, the blank metal discs used to make coins, were improperly prepared, leading to unusual coloration or weight differences. These mint errors transform a standard 1995 D quarter into a one-of-a-kind collectible, with error enthusiasts willing to pay high prices for the privilege of owning such oddities. Adding to the intrigue is the historical timing of this coin. The year 1995 was one of the final years before the Great Transition to the 50-state quarters program, which launched in 1999. That program, which introduced new reverse designs for each state, sparked a nationwide coin collecting craze and shifted attention away from the classic eagle design. Because of this, quarters from the mid-1990s have gained a nostalgic charm, representing the closing chapter of an era before U.S. coinage entered a bold new phase. Collectors now view coins like the 1995 D as part of the last generation of traditional Washington quarters, increasing their appeal. Beyond their numismatic qualities, these coins also tell a story of American culture in the 1990s. Think of the places a single 1995 quarter might have traveled: the pocket of a teenager at an arcade, the cash register of a family diner, or the hands of someone buying a newspaper on the street corner. These small pieces of change were witnesses to everyday life, quietly circulating through countless human experiences. To own a pristine example today is to preserve not only a coin but a small slice of history from that decade. Collectors often ask how to identify a valuable 1995 D quarter. The first step is to look at the condition. Coins with full luster, sharp details in Washington's hair, and a clear, unblemished surface are the most desirable. Second, check for errors such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, or clipped planchets. These can dramatically raise the value. Lastly, professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can provide certification, ensuring the coin's authenticity and condition, which in turn gives collectors confidence and helps realize its full market value at auction. There have been auction records that showcase just how remarkable these coins can be. Ordinary 1995 D quarters may only be worth a small premium, but in high mint state grades or with dramatic errors, they have shocked collectors with their hammer prices. Stories abound of individuals discovering that the humble quarter sitting in their drawer was in fact a numismatic treasure. Such finds remind us that hidden wealth can be lurking in the most unexpected places, even in a simple 25-cent coin. When considering the rarity of these coins, it's important to note that rarity does not always mean low mintage. In fact, millions of 1995 D quarters were struck. The rarity comes from the survival rate of pristine examples and rare varieties. While the average circulated piece is common, those few coins that remain untouched, or those that display unique minting characteristics, are the true gems collectors chase. This brings us to the excitement of coin hunting. Every day, collectors and enthusiasts search through pocket change, coin rolls from banks, and even inherited collections in hopes of finding that one elusive treasure. The thrill of discovery fuels the hobby. Imagine the joy of realizing that the quarter you almost spent on a gumball is actually worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The 1995 D quarter represents exactly that kind of hidden opportunity. As you listen to this, you might be inspired to check your own change jars, your piggy banks, or that old collection handed down by a relative. Who knows? You might be holding a piece of history far more valuable than you ever imagined. The beauty of coin collecting is that it blends history, art, economics, and mystery into a single pursuit. Each coin is more than metal. It is a story stamped in silver and copper, passed through generations. The 1995 D Washington quarter dollar continues to attract attention because it symbolizes the crossroads between ordinary and extraordinary. A simple design, struck in massive numbers, yet among them lie treasures that command awe in the numismatic community. Its value lies not only in its metal content or face value, but in the combination of historical context, condition rarity, minting anomalies, and collector demand. So, next time you come across a Washington quarter dated 1995 with the Denver Mint mark, take a closer look. Examine its shine, its details, and its edges. You might just be staring at a coin that has the power to surprise you with its hidden worth. The world of numismatics thrives on these surprises, and it is precisely why collectors remain so passionate. A quarter may be small, but its story is anything but, and when it comes to the most exceptional examples of this coin, those rare, near-perfect survivors that capture the very best of mint craftsmanship and history, they have reached astonishing prices at auction. In fact, one of these rare 1995 D mint mark Washington quarter dollars has sold for the incredible amount of $21,497. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where history, treasure, and mystery all come alive through the coins we carry in our pockets every day. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories hidden in plain sight, the 1998 P mint mark Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, this coin might seem like any other 25-cent piece. You've probably held one, spent one, or maybe you even have one resting inside an old jar of change somewhere at home. But what if I told you that some of these seemingly ordinary coins are far from ordinary? That some of them are hiding stories of rarity, error, and extraordinary value? That one of these coins, if discovered in just the right condition, could transform pocket change into a treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars? Yes, the 1998 P Washington quarter is not just another coin. It is a gateway into American history, minting technology, collector passion, and sometimes, unimaginable fortune. So settle in, because over the next several minutes we're going to journey through everything you need to know about this coin, its background, its design, its striking variations, the secrets behind the PE mint mark, and why collectors around the world are hunting for it today. The story of the Washington quarter begins back in 1932. America was celebrating the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The U.S. Mint wanted a coin that would honor Washington, a design that would embody leadership, strength, and the democratic ideals that shaped the nation. Sculptor John Flanagan's design was chosen, and from that year onward, the Washington quarter became a fixture in American currency. Fast forward to 1998. It was the final year before the U.S. Mint launched one of the most ambitious and popular coin programs in history, the 50-state quarters program, which began in 1999. That means the 1998 Washington quarter holds a special place in history. It was the last of its kind before the big change, before the quarter went from a standard design to one that would rotate designs to honor each U.S. state. The 1998 P Washington quarter, in particular, was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The P mint mark located just below the eagle on the reverse side indicates that it came from Philadelphia. Millions of these coins were struck, and most people assumed that a coin with such a high mintage would never be valuable. After all, how could a coin made in the millions be worth anything more than face value? Well, that's where the story gets exciting. Collectors don't just value coins for how many were made, they value them for condition, rarity, and the occasional error that slips past the watchful eyes at the mint. And in 1998, with the quarter's production about to shift gears for the State Series, small variations and mistakes turned an otherwise ordinary coin into something extraordinary. One of the most famous features collectors look for is strike quality. The 1998 P Washington quarter, when struck in perfect precision with sharp details, can fetch staggering sums at auction. Look closely at George Washington's hair, his cheek, the eagle's feathers on the reverse. If every line and detail is crisp, without wear or blemish, you might just be holding a treasure. But strike quality isn't the only thing that makes this coin stand out. Errors play a huge role in turning everyday coins into rarities. For instance, misstrikes, double dies, off-center strikes, or planchet errors can send collectors into a frenzy. Even a small doubling in Washington's profile or lettering can dramatically increase the value. Imagine spotting an error coin in your change, a coin most people would overlook, but collectors would pay thousands to own. That is the thrill of coin hunting, and here's where the 1998 P quarter truly shines. Because it was the last year before the big state quarter program, collectors worldwide have a nostalgic connection to it. It represents the end of an era. Add in pristine condition or a rare error, and suddenly the value skyrockets. Let's also talk about condition grading, because this is critical to understanding why some quarters are worth small fortunes. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless strike. Most quarters in circulation today are nowhere near perfect. They've been tossed in pockets, spent at gas stations, rattled around in change jars, and worn down by decades of use. But every once in a while, a coin emerges in mint state condition, preserved as if it just left the mint yesterday. These coins, especially those graded MS-68 or higher, are incredibly rare. For the 1998 P. Washington quarter, a high grade like this can make all the difference. It's not just a coin anymore, it's a gem, a collector's dream. Now, let's take a moment to look at the design itself, because this is part of what makes the Washington quarter so iconic. On the obverse, we have the bust of George Washington, his stern yet dignified profile a reminder of his leadership. The inscriptions, Liberty and In God We Trust, frame his image, while the year 1998 sits at the bottom. The small P mint mark is tucked neatly into the design, often overlooked but crucial for identifying the minting location. Flip the coin to the reverse, and you're greeted by the majestic American bald eagle. Wings spread wide, arrows and olive branches in its talons, the eagle symbolizes both strength in defense and the pursuit of peace. Above it, the words, United States of America, and E pluribus unum, while below it, the denomination, $quarter. This design, used for decades, is deeply tied to America's identity, making the 1998 quarter even more special as the last of its kind before the design changed. Another fascinating aspect of the 1998 P. Washington quarter is its role in bridging two eras of U.S. coinage. For many collectors, owning this coin is like owning a piece of transition history. It's the last step of the old, and the doorstep to the new. Think of it this way. If the 50-state quarters were a revolution in U.S. coinage, then the 1998 quarter was the final calm before the storm, the last chapter of a long-running book before the sequel began. Collectors often treasure these transitional coins more than one might expect, precisely because they symbolize change. They carry with them not just metal and design, but memory and significance. Now, you might be wondering, how can you tell if your 1998 P. Washington quarter is one of the valuable ones? Here are some tips. First, examine the coin's condition. Is it shiny, with no visible scratches or wear? Does Washington's profile look sharp and detailed? Second, look for minting errors. Sometimes doubling can be spotted in the letters or numbers. Sometimes the eagle's feathers might look distorted due to a strike-through or misalignment. Third, if you believe your coin might be special, consider having it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A high-grade certification can turn an ordinary quarter into a treasure. And here's the exciting part: these coins are still out there. They're hiding in pockets, in jars, in drawers, waiting to be discovered. Every day, collectors are checking their change, hoping to spot one of these valuable coins. That thrill of discovery is what keeps coin collecting alive and exciting. It's worth mentioning too that coins like the 1998 P quarter are not just about monetary value. They're about history, craftsmanship, and national pride. Every coin tells a story. This particular coin tells the story of America's first president, of a nation on the brink of celebrating its states in coinage, of a mint that produced billions yet still left behind rare treasures for us to uncover. Imagine holding one of these coins in your hand, not just as a piece of change, but as a fragment of history. A silent witness to 1998, to the excitement of what was about to come, and now, decades later, a hidden jewel in the world of coin collecting. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for, the value. While most 1998 P. Washington quarters are worth just 25 cents, the rarest examples, preserved in pristine condition and carrying that touch of rarity collectors crave, have been known to sell for astonishing sums. In fact, one such coin has sold for an incredible $23,497. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating, modern, and collectible coins that has already started making headlines in the numismatic world. It's a coin from the United States of America, minted not too long ago, but it has captured the interest of collectors all over the world because of its special design, symbolism, rarity in certain conditions, and growing value. We're talking about the 2021 D Mint mark crossing the Delaware $quarter. Now, at first glance, some people might dismiss modern quarters as just another pocket change. After all, we've seen countless designs in circulation: state quarters, national park quarters, commemorative issues, and many people assume they're just ordinary coins. But the story of this particular quarter is different. It's not just about the metal it struck on, it's about its significance in American coinage, the story behind its artwork, and of course, the incredible values it can reach if you happen to have the right one in your hands. Let's begin by understanding why this coin was even made. For over 20 years, the United States Mint had been producing the America the Beautiful Quarter program, a massive series that started in 2010 and ran until 2021. These coins featured designs celebrating national parks and historic sites across all 50 states, Washington, D.C., and U.S. territories. That series wrapped up with the Tuskegee Airman Quarter in early 2021. So, what would the Mint release next before transitioning to the American Women Quarters program in 2022? That's where the Crossing the Delaware Quarter came in. The 2021 Crossing the Delaware Quarter was issued as a one-year-only design. That's right. It wasn't part of a long-running series. It wasn't repeated across years. It was a standalone piece of American history placed into millions of hands in 2021. That fact alone makes it immediately more collectible, because anything produced for just a single year tends to catch the eye of numismatists. Now let's talk about the design. The obverse of the coin features the familiar bust of George Washington. But collectors noticed something special here. Instead of the slightly modernized Washington portrait that had appeared on America the Beautiful Quarters, the Mint reverted to the original design by John Flanagan, the one first introduced in 1932 for the Washington Quarter series. It was almost like a nostalgic nod to history, bringing Washington back in his classic profile, but paired with a brand new reverse design. And the reverse, this is where the coin truly shines. The Crossing the Delaware Quarter shows a dramatic scene: General George Washington himself, standing at the bow of a boat as he leads Continental Army troops across the icy Delaware River during the Revolutionary War. This famous moment, which took place on the night of December 25, 1776, was a daring surprise attack against Hessian forces in Trenton, New Jersey. It became one of the most iconic moments in America's struggle for independence. The detail on this coin is remarkable. Washington is depicted with his sword drawn, his cape billowing in the winter wind, his expression set with determination. You can almost feel the tension of that historic night just by looking at the coin. The words, "Crossing the Delaware," are inscribed alongside him, forever capturing this defining moment in American history. So now that we've set the stage with the design and historical background, let's get into the specifics that make this particular coin, especially the one with the D Mint mark, so interesting to collectors. The D Mint mark signifies that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. In 2021, the Mint released hundreds of millions of these quarters across the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. On paper, that sounds like a massive mintage. But as collectors know, it's not just about how many coins are produced, it's about the condition they survive in, whether there are unique errors, and whether the coin has been preserved in pristine quality. For the 2021 D Crossing the Delaware Quarter, some examples entered circulation almost immediately, showing signs of wear, scratches, and contact marks from daily use. These are the quarters people might still find in their pocket change today. They're fun to spot, but they don't hold much extra value in circulated grades. However, the real treasure lies in uncirculated and high-grade examples. Coins graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC and Mint State 67, Mint State 68, or even higher are extremely rare. The difference between a coin found in circulation and one preserved in gem condition is enormous. Collectors will pay a premium for coins that look flawless under magnification, with strong luster, no distracting marks, and crisp details. But wait, it doesn't stop there. What really sets this coin apart are the unique error varieties that have already been discovered. Some 2021 D quarters show double die errors, where parts of the design appear doubled due to slight misalignments during the minting process. Others show die chips or cuds, where extra blobs of metal appear on the coin from damaged dies. Each of these errors turns an ordinary coin into something far more valuable and desirable. Collectors absolutely love error coins, because each one is unique. It's like having a little piece of minting history that went wrong, but in a way that excites the collecting community. Some of these error quarters have already been listed online and at auctions for surprising amounts, despite the coin only being a few years old. So let's piece it all together. We have a 1-year-only design, featuring one of the most iconic moments in American history. We have a return to the classic Washington obverse portrait. We have millions of coins struck, but only a tiny fraction surviving in gem condition. We have exciting error varieties that make certain coins stand out dramatically from the rest. All of these factors combine to make the 2021 crossing the Delaware quarter one of the most interesting modern coins to collect. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of value are we actually talking about here? How much could one of these coins be worth? The answer depends heavily on condition and whether or not the coin has an error. For coins pulled straight from circulation, they're often worth just face value, 25 cents, unless they have an error. But when you enter the world of professionally graded examples, things change very quickly. For example, high-grade mint state coins with the D mint mark can command impressive prices. Collectors are willing to pay hundreds, sometimes even thousands, for coins graded MS67 and above. Error coins can fetch even more depending on how dramatic and unique the error is. Some examples of double dies or significant die chips have been bid up in competitive auctions. And then, of course, there are the record-setting sales. These are the coins that make headlines, the ones that show just how much demand exists among collectors when the right coin comes along. For the 2021 crossing the Delaware quarter, there has already been an example that stunned the collecting world by reaching an eye-popping price when offered at auction. That coin, preserved in superb condition and representing one of the finest examples known, sold for an extraordinary total of $39,266.